Meron pa, Paula, we forgot, no? Before this, it was the SMNI issue. Now, why this SMNI issue? Why? Even before, even in 2022, may usap-usapan na. Hindi pa lahat umaabot sa sa social media, but there was already talk na ayaw or suspicious ang administrasyon sa mga Duterte. They were worried about VP Inday's friendship with Gloria Arroyo. Lalo-lalo na, Gloria Arroyo was, senior deputy speaker. Bakit sila worried? Well, we know that GMA got a 9-year presidency. And she did it with an amazingly coincidental soft coup, kumbaga. Or that's the term. Anyway, the military withdrew support from the very popular era. But they were only able to do that because most of the warriors were in Mindanao. The people who normally would have withdrawn support but did not do so during ERAP's time, they were in Mindanao. Yung mga, ang usual niyan, pag kami gumagalaw sa military, ang gumagalaw dyan ay, okay. Nasaan na yung aking mga moderators dito? Ang usually gumagalaw dyan, Marines at saka Scout Rangers. Why do I know this? Kasi mga kliyente ko yung mga yan. May atribida kasi na hindi ko daw alam yung pinagsasabi ko. So at any rate, sinabi ni the image of the Vice President being so close to Mrs. Arroyo led some people to suspect or think. Walang ebidensya ha, yun lang, yung closeness lang nila. So, umandar. Diba? Umandar. So, sunod-sunod yan, remove Mrs. Arroyo, and then SMNI. Why is SMNI a target? Because it is firmly on the side of the Dutertes. Why did the Facebook pages and some social media of known Duterte supporters suddenly fall? Except for Maharlika, hindi man siya Duterte dati. Although, well, Duterte siya, but nothing compared to her loyalty to the Marcoses. Diba? Pero, 2022 pa lang, pinag-uusapan na yon. Worried sila. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Hi, ako po si Trixie Cruz Angeles. Ito po ang Luminous. Okay. Sabi ni Miao, ha 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 ha. Grabe, Marcos versus Romualdez. Ha ha ha, Duterte lang kami, di ba? Attorney, Duterte lang tayo. Yes, but it's worth watching everybody else, di ba? Kung Duterte kayo and you want to protect Inday, you have to know what's going on around you. Hindi pwedeng napaka-myopic natin. Also, remember that the Vice President, whatever it is she's going to be facing, she needs friends. Okay, she needs allies. So wag kayong makikipag-away dun sa hindi kailangan awayin. So, we have to look at the interaction of these three people. Kasi, marami sa atin, di ba, merong mahalong duda, merong halong kung ano-ano. Number one, it cannot be denied na itong tatlong to ay magkakapamilya, magkakamag-anak. Pero hindi necessarily pare-pareho yung kanilang politika, which is standard naman for many political families. Marami sa mga political families, at ito, totoo to, lalo-lalo na noon dun sa mga Osmeña ng Cebu, nagkakaiba-iba silang partido para kahit anong mangyari, ay mayroon isa sa kanila na nasa poder. Diba? Dito, nakikita natin na iba-iba silang partido. So, iba-iba silang partido, pero iba-iba rin sila ng galaw. Ang nakikita natin, ang mukhang magkaalyado dito ay si Presidente BBM at saka si Speaker Martin. But let's have a look at how it goes, no? Nung tumakbo si Presidente BBM para sa Vice Presidente, yun yung time din na tumakbo si Speaker Martin para sa Senador. Pareho silang natalo. So meron silang similar and shared experience. Si Senadora ay di pa natatalo yan sa eleksyon. When she ran for Senator, nanalo siya kagad. President BBM, when he first ran for Senator, hindi siya kagad nanalo. So it was on his second try as Senator din siya nanalo. So si Speaker Martin, talo din siya the first time he ran for Senator and he went back doon sa House. At tamang-tama. Pero bago pa yan, 2021, kumuha siya, he sought the endorsement of President Rodrigo Duterte to run for Vice President in 2022. Nakalimutan niyo na yan? Ako nakalimutan ko na eh. If I wasn't looking for articles, I would never have seen it. So humingi siya ng endorsement ni Presidente Duterte at binibigay naman sa kanya. But this was in 2021, before kasagsagan ng eleksyon. But hindi niya itinuloy yun. Kasi nga umaangat si Presidente BBM at ang tingin ng mga nila ay kahit hindi sila magkapatido, dahil magkamag-anak sila, baka hindi tanggapin ng taong bayan. Baka isa sa kanila hindi manalo. Plus, the price really has always been Duterte, whether it was Rodrigo Duterte's endorsement or to be the running mate of Inday Sara. So, ganun na nga yung nangyari. Because the presidency really was for the asking kay Inday. Kung ano ang gusto niya ng niyang posisyon. Naalala ko to sandali nawala yung ano ko. Nawala yung aking mouse. Sandali, sorry. Slight admin difficulties. Yan. Standard fare para dun sa mga nag-iisa. Okay. Nag-iisang mag-live. Okay. So, in the meantime, so, hindi natuloy yun. And of course, the presidency was for the taking ni Inday. Current VP Inday. At the time, Mayor Inday siya. But she wasn't sure. She was never sure. Or, she's wavering, she's worried. There are a lot of people talking to her. And understandably, may confusion dyan. So, somebody put them together. Si BBM, at the time, candidate BBM, he was sure of running. Sure siya nun. Kasi even before, 2021 pa lang, iniisip na niya. He already told us, as early as mid-year ng 2021, sinabihan na niya kaming mga kaibigan niya, na a few of his friends, sinabi niya, I am definitely running. I just don't know what position yet, but definitely it will be for a national position. Meaning, hindi siya babalik sa Ilocos. So it was at the very least, magsisenador siya. At the most, of course, was the presidency. So, pero alam niya, may kaba siya. Kasi nanggaling siya sa talo. He lost the vice presidency. And bihira po yung nakakabangon. Natatakbo uli nang nanggaling ka sa pagkatalo. Bihirang-bihira yon. It's very rare. So in his case, tatakbo pa siya for potentially a higher position. So the price has always been Duterte, like I said. Whether it was the endorsement of President Rodrigo Duterte or to be the running mate of Sara. And the person who had made this happen was Amy Marcos. One of those, there was Amy Marcos and Gloria Arroyo. So, natin kakalimutan, ito yung mga nagsanib puwersa para matuloy yung unity. Obviously, Speaker Martin could not run for VP. Nor could he ask for the House speakership. Dahil sa laki ng utang ni BBM, sa tulong ni Gloria Arroyo, he promised her the speakership. Remember this? He promised her the speakership. And then something happened. The next thing Mrs. Arroyo knew, the rug got pulled off from under her feet. And suddenly, it was already Martin Romualdez who was going to be speaker. According to one kwento, there are several stories. But the one that I know, I'm not saying it's true. This is just what was told to me. What I know is that dahil magka-party mates si Speaker Martin at saka si Mrs. Arroyo, he told BBM that, Mrs. Arroyo is no longer interested in the speakership. Whether that had basis or not, hindi tayo sure. Okay? Hi kay Adrian, dito na si Adrian. Adrian, one of these days, kailangan mong umakyat. You have to do live with me. Okay? So, ang sabi ni Speaker Martin kay ni Congressman Martin Romualdez kay Presidente BBM, this is the story that we were being told, is that Mrs. Arroyo was no longer interested in the speakership and therefore he was volunteering for it. Of course, pumayag si Presidente BBM. Now, Mrs. Arroyo claims that's not true. Well, privately claimed that it was not true. This is the story. I'm not saying it could be different depending on who you're talking to, but this was what I was told. So, so suddenly, to appease his running mate, so Speaker Martin made Mrs. Arroyo Senior Deputy Speaker. Okay, that was the story behind it. So, we know that Speaker Martin is ambitious. He wanted this position, he got it. Okay? The first few months of the BBM presidency, what Speaker Romualdez did was to unite Congress. Para siyang si Joe De Venecia with his Rainbow Coalition. But even Joe De Venecia's Rainbow Coalition was not a solid body. Meron pa ring opposition. Diba? So, in the meantime, what happened to Amy Marcos, who also had made it possible? Diba? She was the other person who helped put the unity team together. Ano nangyari kay Amy Marcos? She did not even become Senate President. Although I understand she did not want to be Senate President. There is some talk that she wanted a cabinet position instead and was willing to abandon her run for the Senate or abandon her position in the Senate. Pero hindi rin po nangyari yun. At the time, the executive secretary was E.S. Vic Rodriguez. And from him, I never heard any talk that Senator Amy wanted a position. This was later on whispered about when E.S. Vic had left. That she had wanted the position, but she did not push for it. Kasi nga, with Martin Romualdez, already the speaker, sabi ni Senadora Amy, ang dami na nating magkakamag-anak dyan. So, she declined or she no longer pursued it. But that leaves her out. So, take note, she's not even the Senate President. However, no one, even the worst of us, can deny that Senator Amy has more experience than the other two. They're much younger. She's been in politics for a long time, even when her father was still alive. Diba? She learned from the best. That's what most people say. She learned from her father. So she knows how to politic. She knows how to schmooze. She knows how to build alliances and so on. But why does it seem that she is the outsider here? She flew her support to Vice President Inday. But if you will notice the dynamics, okay? Notice the dynamics. Even now, Senator Amy is rarely in Malacanang, rarely invited. Take note also that during the inaugural, up until the last minute, we weren't sure that she would arrive. Fortunately, she did. Otherwise, ang laking chismis na naman yan. But she did. And that put to rest a lot of rumors. So, yun yung parang si Senadora Amy is like a satellite hovering around but never really quite getting close to the presidency. Si Speaker Martin, on the other hand, has always been seen by the side of the president. Always yan. In all our foreign trips, and in fact, even currently, up to now, yung mga foreign trips, kasama po siya. And in almost any occasion where the president is seen, in most occasions where the president is seen, he is also there, particularly sa mga official functions. Now, it's made people wonder, di ba? Bakit kakasama dito? Bakit nandun ka sa mga executive functions? He did not attend cabinet meetings, ha? Let's just get that clear. That's it. If anybody tries to say that, that's not true. Right. But, in 2023, we also saw a rapid diminishing of the number of cabinet meetings that the president was holding. Of those publicized, there were only about 7 publicized cabinet meetings. Ngayon, dahil sa dati kasi in 2022, every time magka-cabinet meeting, the media would be invited, and it was our habit. The media would be invited before the meeting. They would take pictures, they'd leave, mag-meeting, and then the press secretary would make the briefing. The exception, I think, they started to diminish that when the press secretary was already Secretary Garafil. Now, diba, nag-diminish yun, and he was more often seen actually with his cousin rather than with his cabinet or even with his vice president. So nangyari na nga yung pagtanggal ni Mrs. Arroyo as deputy speaker and relationships started to sour. So, nung na-challenge na yung CF ni VP Inday, the president for the first time was silent. It was also the first time na hindi siya nag-issue ng statement supporting VP Inday. Before that, very, very close yung image nila. Whenever they would see each other, the vice president, for instance, would always be there to see the president off whenever he would leave. She would always be front and center in any event where they would both appear. She would always show full support. Even if her own supporters did not support the president's policies, she would always be very firmly standing by the president. Kasi sabi niya, this is what she signed up for. She was grateful to be with the Marcoses in this administration, and she did show that gratitude. But the shadow by this time of Speaker Martin was growing longer and longer. At dun sa pagtanggal ni Mrs. Arroyo, parang nagkagulo na after that. Hindi na nagkagulo, pero nakikita natin, medyo nagkakaroon na ng gumugulo, kumbaga. So, Speaker Martin has been taking on more and more responsibilities. Minsan, iniisip ko, parang na siya. Parang siya na yung parang siya yung protocol officer. Parati siyang kasama . And he makes more statements than actually the president does. Take note, doon sa time na Agriculture Secretary ang ating Pangulo, si Speaker Martin nag-conduct ng raid sa, sa isang warehouse supposedly ng mga hoarders. Nawala yung mga kaso na yon kasi hoarding itself, hindi pa siya crime. Pero crime kung yung pagka-hoard na yun ay dahil smuggled yung goods. As it turns out, tumahimik yung kaso and so it's quite possible na legal yung mga yon. Shortly after that, yun nga, yung CF. So after the CF and so on, it became very clear that it was Speaker Martin, or at least to the public, it was Speaker Martin who was sending or telling his minions to go after her. Iba yung Senado, of course. They were taking their cue. Kasi si Senator Lisa talaga yung umandar dyan sa, sa Senado. But in the House, she was also questioned. It was even worse sa BICAM. Pagdating sa BICAM, andyan na po sina Congressman Saldi. And dyan sila umariba. Yung 500 billion na ayuda, yung 700 billion na na unprogrammed funds and so on, di ba? It was ang nagmaniobra noon mga congressmen, and presumably at the orders or at the very least the knowledge of the speaker. Hindi nila mapapagkaila yun na there was the rift started upon the removal of Mrs. Arroyo as deputy speaker, and then umandar na yung doon sa CF. Okay? Ni VP Inday. But it did not stop there. With Mrs. Arroyo, they eventually took her out as deputy speaker. So ordinary congressman na siya. But look at the different reactions. With VP Inday, when Mrs. Arroyo was removed as deputy speaker, she came out for her. Okay? Take note, hindi sila magkapartido exactly. Well, maybe they are because VP Inday was assisted by Lakas. Okay? Hindi, how do you call this? She showed, she defended, she defended Mrs. Arroyo and automatically earned the ire of the speaker. So the speaker got his turn with the confidential funds and so on. Now, yung confidential funds, bakit tumutuloy-tuloy yung issue? When it became very clear that the president was the one who released those funds, who released those funds to her through the DBM. So you cannot claim na mali yung CF and say that the president is blameless, and yet somehow you have to look at you have to look at the manipulation online as well. So titingnan niyo yung manipulation online, they keep bringing up the CF, the 125 CF, even if the issue had long been settled. And even if the issue is with the Supreme Court, which apparently is not moving either. So ano yung reason kung bakit mababanggit yung CF na yon? We know that PR operators were hired by the House, but it's mostly to boost the House's image. There are, however, people who are allegedly in the payroll of the Speaker who are not only speaking to defend him, which is rare, but actually out there to destroy VP Inday. Fortunately, nag-rally yung mga supporters, di ba? So, ang nakikita natin is that, and then, tadan, eto na po, charter change, cha-cha. In December, it was Speaker Romualdez who announced that maybe it is time to have a look at the charter. It's time daw to amend the economic provisions. At ang sinasabi niya, tignan ninyo, yung renewables, hindi matuloy-tuloy. Ang dami, well, hindi siya yung nagsabi nun, but it was the administration. It was Speaker Romualdez who was saying, tara, I think we have to change this. So, pag Congress ang nagsalita, then the presumption is Congress ang aandar. At pag ang Congress umandar, it means it will be Constituent Assembly. Lo and behold, shortly after that, eto na po, amazingly, and parang by coincidence, eto na po ang People's Initiative. What an amazing coincidence! Such timing! Such, parang, your wish is my command. We should change provisions of the Constitution. Poof! May People's Initiative. Tapos hindi siya nahalata. O, tama. Meron pa. Paula, we forgot, no? Before this, it was the SMNI issue. Now, why this SMNI issue? Why? Even before, even in 2022, may usap-usapan na. Hindi pa lahat umaabot sa sa social media, but there was already talk na ayaw or suspicious ang administrasyon sa mga Duterte. They were worried about VP Inday's friendship with Gloria Arroyo. Lalo-lalo na, Gloria Arroyo was, senior deputy speaker. Bakit sila worried? Well, we know that GMA got a 9-year presidency. And she did it with an amazingly coincidental soft coup, kumbaga. Alright, that's the term. Anyway, the military withdrew support from the very popular era. But they were only able to do that because most of the warriors were in Mindanao. The people who normally would have withdrawn support but did not do so during Erap's time, they were in Mindanao. Yung mga, ang usual niyan, pag kami gumagalaw sa military, ang gumagalaw dyan ay, okay. Nasaan na yung aking mga moderators dito? Ang usually gumagalaw dyan, Marines at saka Scout Rangers. Why do I know this? Kasi mga kliyente ko yung mga yan. May atribida kasi na hindi ko daw alam yung pinagsasabi ko. So at any rate, sinabi ni the image of the Vice President being so close to Mrs. Arroyo led some people to suspect or think. Walang ebidensya ha, yun lang, yung closeness lang nila. So, umandar. Diba? Umandar. So, sunod-sunod yan, remove Mrs. Arroyo, and then SMNI. Why is SMNI a target? Because it is firmly on the side of the Dutertes. Why did the Facebook pages and some social media of known Duterte supporters suddenly fall? Except for Maharlika, hindi man siya Duterte dati. Although, well, Duterte siya, but nothing compared to her loyalty to the Marcoses. Diba? Pero, 2022 pa lang, pinag-uusapan na yon. Worried sila. Worried sila because of that closeness. So, ayan na po. Suddenly, nag-ratchet up yung worry na yon. According to Speaker Martin, si Mrs. Arroyo had designs on the speakership and was planning to remove him as House Speaker. She denied it. She, in fact, went to speak to Speaker Martin, tried to establish ties and all that. Because Mrs. Arroyo was the mentor, political mentor of Speaker Martin. So YT wala po. TikTok po. Okay. Hi, Aya! Good evening. So, ayun. And now, it seems that there is a suspicion, even if there is no movement, even if VP Inday has remained fully loyal and fully committed to her president. Diba? Even now, you will never hear her say a bad word, not even make parinig. If anybody mentions the Polvoron video, that's an old one, long before the Polvoron issue was brought up. So, she does not say anything. She has been very strictly abiding by the agreement. Kaya nga ang dami-daming nag-aakala na may unity team pa long after they were already in position. So, take note, VP Inday clarified. Yung unity team was the tagline of their run. And now that they are officials, diba? Dito nyo unang narinig yan. Now that they're officials, they are in the service of the country. First, their party will come after. So, I'm just checking your comments. So now, umaandar yon. But meron ng mga ibang rumors that are much more disturbing. And it makes people worry watching the interplay of these people. Kasi parang tumatayong opposition dyan is yung closeness kasi ni Speaker Martin and the President has not exactly been healthy for the President. Kasi ang daming nagsasabi, teka, sino ba ang presidente? Mas marami pang press releases yung speaker. Mas marami pang, mas marami pa siyang, airtime. And he's the one who's always showing some kind of leadership. Or at least projecting leadership. I mean, to be fair, naayos niya yung house. At least he made for a while, organized sila, at saka united. Until the cracks in the house have started to show. The first cracks appeared when the target was Rodrigo Duterte. Nung una, madali kasi to speak against Inday, pero with Rodrigo Duterte, that's a different thing altogether. That's a different ballgame. Bakit? A lot of the congressmen won upon the endorsement of Rodrigo Duterte when he was president and when they ran for Congress. Now, these people know that their own constituents will look for that same endorsement come 2025. So medyo nagdadalawang isip sila. Nevertheless, yung mga loyal lieutenants ni Speaker were the ones who put together, take note, konti lang sila, who put together the House resolution asking the DOJ to allow the investigation by the ICC into the drug war. Again, nasan si Amy dito? It was Amy who said no. Why no to ICC? It was also Amy who is saying no to charter change. So eto na po ang People's Initiative. The coincidental People's Initiative, di ba? Poof! So, she finally is speaking with the Senate. Kasi ngayon, natira yung buong Senado. The People's Initiative is proposing an amendment to Article 17, Section 1 ng Saligang Batas. At yung article po na yon ay si Chrisette nasa TikTok. Finally, sabi niya na finally I showed up on our newsfeed. Everybody say good evening to Chrisette. Magbigay-pugay po. Bigay-pugay kay the great KLC. Okay, so, nasa na tayo? So, yung coincidental na charter change na yan, di ba? Nasaan si Amy? Tumututol din. But this time, meron na siyang kakampi. Kakampi na niya yung Senado. Bakit kakampi niya yung Senado? Because the proposal to water down the vote of the Senate in proposing changes to the Constitution is linked to the House. Kumbaga, pag tinitignan natin yung People's Initiative, iisipin niyo sino ba ang sino ba ang may pasimuno nito? Napaka-vague. May attorney Tony, may somebody else claiming na sila daw ang nagpupush niyan o nagpopondo niyan. Pero sino ang beneficiary dyan? Ang beneficiary dyan is the House at the expense of the Senate. So fortunately, si Amy may kakampi na ngayon. She's speaking together with the Senate. Anong ngayon ang proposal? Imbestigahan ang People's Initiative. At sa pag-iimbestiga nito, kasama yung, sinong pasimuno nito? Sino ba itong mga taong to? Tapos meron pang grupo na sumakay. Yung grupong sumakay na yan, yung pirma. Yung pirma, dati, ang gusto nila yata extension of terms, no term extensions. Doon sila tumitira noon. Ngayon, ang gusto nila, one of the things that they want is foreign ownership of educational institutions na bawal sa saligang batas and foreign ownership of land. Right? Ano natin alam? Kasi nandun sa ad nila. And what a coincidence! What a coincidence na yung foreign ownership of educational institutions is one of those proposed changes in the joint resolution of both the Senate and the House. Diba? What an amazing coincidence. Parang ang daming, this is the land of coincidences in politics. Diba? So ano yun? Wala akong sinasagot na tanong ngayon, huwag kayong magmaktol, grabe kayo. Nagsasalita pa dahan-dahan. Hindi ko pa mababasa talaga yan. Okay. So, what are we watching out for? Now, we know na ang lakas ni Speaker Martin dito kay Presidente Marcos. And at first, President Marcos was saying, hindi siya palo doon sa People's Initiative. Hindi siya palo kasi senador siya dati at naiintindihan niya na napaka-divisive nito. Mawawater down yung kanilang boto. Maninegate yung presence ng Senado at yung co-equalness nila with the House. On the other hand, lumalakas naman yung House. Pag gusto nilang may baguhin, magkasundo-sundo mo, majority lang ng House, mananalo na sila eh. Diba? Majority ng well, actually 3/4 yung vote. Pero, mas united ang House kahit mawala yung makabayan block na yan. Magdadalawang isip na lang ibang mga congressman kung magpapa-charter change na masyadong malapit sa eleksyon. Kasi yung mga re-electionist na kongresista dyan na nanalo dahil kay Duterte, magdadalawang isip. So yun. So what more are they planning for charter change? Kasi iba yung joint resolution at saka iba yung People's Initiative. Ngayon, akala natin, safe na. Safe na yung ibang mga babaguhin kasi nagkasundo na yung House at saka yung Senate at nakikita natin ano yung mga pinapropose nila kahit paano, kahit konti, may transparency. But no! Tumutuloy yung People's Initiative which means regardless of that resolution, posible pa rin lumabas na mas malakas ang House at the end of this. And what is President Marcos saying about this? What do you think he's going to say? Fearless forecast? Kakampi siya. Hindi kay Senadora Amy. Pero kay Speaker Martin. like I said, outside si Senator Amy, but her statements are in favor of VP Inday. So, sa tingin nyo, ano mangyayari dito? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean na mananalo yung People's Initiative simply because ini-endorso ni Speaker Martin at saka ni Presidente Marcos. May laban pa yan sa Korte Suprema. May laban pa yan sa COMELEC. May laban pa yan dun sa referendum, assuming na makatuloy yan. What are we going to do? So habang nangyayari yan, unang-una, ang kailangan natin intindihin is, although hindi siya, how do you call this? May controversy dun sa batas, RA 6735. The COMELEC has made it clear na para sa kanila may batas at para sa kanila kumpleto ang batas. Karamihan sa mga dalubhasa na nagbibigay ng statement sa media ngayon ay nagsasabing hindi tama yan. Walang debate sa People's Initiative, so hindi pwedeng magbago ng significantly itong saligang batas. And yung pagbabago ng boto ng Senado and virtually turning the entire Congress and Senate into a unicameral body where dehado ang Senado is not considered sa 6735 or in the Constitution. Ano pa? Kung matuloy ito, remember, so ang mangyayari niyan, matutuloy yung charter change but it will not necessarily be limited to the three provisions in the resolution of both houses of Congress. What are we seeing? We're seeing an anything goes pagdating sa charter change. Anong ibig sabihin ng anything goes? Kung ano yung gusto nila, yun ang masusunod. Sasabihin ninyo, may referendum naman, pwede tayong humindi? Hindi rin. Kasi ang magde-decide kung ano yung wording dun sa referendum or how it is going to be voted on will still be with the House if it has expanded powers. Now, bakit ko sinasabi yan? Pwede kasi nilang gawin all of the changes in a single referendum na yes or no lang. So that the debates will not be, is this provision good? No yan, yes dun sa isa. Imbis na ganun ang mangyari, it will be a yes or no lang, like the 1987 Constitution. Meron tayong hindi sinasang-ayunan na provision dyan, pero kung hindi mo iboboto, the good ones might get taken out in the next one. Kasi compromise provisions yan eh. Ulit ha, yung mga provisions sa 1987 Constitution, kadalasan yung iba dyan, compromise. So merong mga hindi sang-ayon, merong mga sang-ayon, but they had to vote yes or no to the whole Constitution. So pwede silang magsingit dyan. Pwede nilang sabihin, ito economic provisions, kahit hindi naman talaga siya problema. Ito ownership of land, educational institutions, advertising, ganyan-ganyan. Pero isasama din nila, extension of the term to president, extension of the ganyan, unicameral legislature, and so on. Paano kung tuloy-tuloy yan? And what if lang ha, mangyari ito, mangyari ito right away, so that by 2025 and so on, it will apply. So, kunwari, yung mga kongresista, sabihin nila, dapat ang term namin 6 years. Dapat ang term namin 6 years. Hindi yan mag-apply sa kanila ngayon. Pero, dahil 2025 may election na, pwede nang mag-apply sa kanila after 2025. Diba? So, ito yung mas matindi. Ano kung sabihin nila, extended yung term ng presidente? What if sabihin nila, re-election, pwede ma-re-elect ang presidente? Okay lang. Hindi mo mag-apply sa presidente na to. Or so we think. Now, with these people in charge, what if magawa ng paraan so that it will apply to existing officials? Diba? What if? I know how, I just don't want to mention it kasi hindi pa hinog eh. But I know how they can do it. Diba? So, ngayon, what are we facing? Kung tumuloy-tuloy ang People's Initiative, anong pwedeng mangyari? Actually, anything. Anything that they want. Hala, yari. Diba? What are we going to do? Ito sabi ni Shinshin, wag naman po sana. Sabi ni Great Sep, I don't know, but for me, I hope that the speakership is also up to the people and through elections. Sabi ni J-Boy, sa inyo na po People's Initiative nyo, kayo nang mayayaman na makikinabang. Ito yung problema. Okay lang sana kung makikinabang lang sila, kaya lang they'll be doing it at our expense. Tandaan niyo po yan. hindi sila yung mayaman nang wala silang nasasaktan. Mayroon paratang masasaktan dyan. Ano yung sinasabi na behind every great fortune is a crime. Okay. Sabi ni Jesus, emotional na kasi ang mga senador. Sino bang hindi magiging emotional? Mawawalan sila ng ng bigat ng boto nila. Para dun sa mga nagtatanong ng sexual orientation ng isang kongresista, why does it matter? Sabi ni Jenny Alvarez, yan na nga yung sinasabi kanina na according daw kay Senator Amy, 2 terms ang ipinangako ni Tam kay BBM, kaya suportado all the way ni BBM si Tam, dyan si PI. Oh no. Di ba? What are we going to do? Okay. We can't talk about extra constitutional or extra legal means of changing the leadership, because given the current political atmosphere, hindi ako magugulat kapag nilabas na naman nila na may mga inaaresto for inciting to sedition. Sabi ni Jay, sabi ni Cheloy, Secretary Cheloy, voluntary raw attendance sa Bagong Pilipinas Rally. May memo na nga na required pumunta. Yun na nga nag-leak na nga yung mga memos eh. So, ang tingin ko dyan sa kick-off rally na yan, i-introduce nila yung charter change. O dyan magsasabi ang presidente na siya, na sang-ayon na siya dun sa People's Initiative. Sabi ni Butch Ignacio, maapektuhan ba ang BARM sa charter change? Of course, if they change the provisions. Kasi kasama yung BARM, kasama yung possible autonomous regions, proposed autonomous regions doon sa saligang batas. They can change it if they want. Ayun, sabi ni CJ, yes, huwag tayo mag-usap noon, baka dapat sa ibang classroom tayo magkita. Baka sa ibang classroom tayo magkita-kita. Ingat-ingat lang. This is not exactly, ngayon ko na lang nararamdaman na may restrictions ang free speech natin. And ganito yung kwento in the first Marcos administration, di ba? Sabi ni Fluellen, regarding sa pinipirmahan ng People's Initiative, sabi ni Kapitan para sa ayuda at AICS. Oo nga eh. So, in the meantime, lahat ng tao nag-iintay kay Inday. Because of the situation, because of what is happening here, because of those proposals, ang bigat ang pressure kay VP Inday. Lahat ng tao nakatingin sa kanya as if, hoping that she will be the savior in the situation that's in the people's minds. Sa totoo lang, calm statements from the president negating all of these speculations will go a long way. That's what leaders do. They will calm their people down. Sabi ni Ma'am Pinay, may dalang pananaw sa isang issue. Hindi dahil binibigay ni attorney ang isang panig nito ay pananakot na. Meron bang mga tao na pinag-uusapan ito bukod kay attorney at Matuto TV? Meron bang ganon? Sino nananakot? Sabihin mo sa akin kung ano yung sinabi ko na hindi factually based or argued from facts, di ba? Sabi ni Ueki, the problem is the son is not like his father. Sabi ni Mamu, do you think Sarah will attend the kick-off rally? I think she will. You know why? Because it's what leaders do. Papapuntahin mo yung mga tao mo, may memo eh. Papapuntahin mo yung mga tao mo, tapos ikaw hindi ka pupunta. Di ba? You don't ask your people to do things that you yourself would not be willing to do in their position. Okay. Ito, alam mo, Diet, tinanong niya na kung sabi ni Inday daw tatakbo siya sa susunod na eleksyon. Ma'am Diet or Sir, as the case may be, dun sa last live namin, in-explain na po yan. In fact, in-explain ni VP Inday na hindi po siya nagre-resign eh. So that's not what she meant. Would you like to debate with the framers of the ones who are still alive, you mean, of the 87 Constitution, regarding all the articles and sections issues relating, why would I debate with them? I don't mind listening to a lecture that they would conduct. Why would I debate? I studied the Constitution. I studied its history. In fact, I studied the history of the Constitution as well as the histories of Philippine constitutions. So why would I debate? A lot of what they will probably say are already existing doctrine. Sabi ni Stephanie, may sinabi na ba ang House regarding specific laws na gusto nilang baguhin? Hindi nga that's the problem. They're very vague about it. And ito pa ha, ito yung problema. With Senator Marcos directly accusing the speaker as being the person behind the People's Initiative. Hindi lang yon, as being the moving force behind those people na nagsusuhol, nagmi-mislead, namimilit para dun sa mga signatures. He is also being accused of that. And his only reaction is to deny. It's still good. Buti nga, dinideny niya. Meaning, kino-controvert niya, sinasabi niya, hindi totoo. So, hindi settled yung katotohanan, whether or not siya nga ang pasimuno ng mga pangyayari sa People's Initiative, yung mga bayaran, sukulan, takutan, and so on. Diba? Hindi controverted yon. It's not a fact yet. But, the Senate wants an investigation where he will be invited. He doesn't have to go, voluntary yan. But his reaction is a simple denial. Ang sinasabi lang niya kay Senator Amy, prove it. But he's not reacting on the possibility of a Senate inquiry. Charan! He will probably ignore it. Sabi ni Kelsey, may mga schools ngayon na wala ang Philippine Constitution and taxation sa curriculum. Mga college students, marami ang hindi naiintindihan at hindi alam ang nangyayari. Kailangan na ang mga guro buksan ang kaisipan ng mga kabataan ngayon pagdating sa mga happening sa bansa. Bakit iintayin natin ang mga profesor? Tayo ang gagawa, di ba? Kaya nga pinag-uusapan natin dito. Sabi ni Piping Dilat, kung walang itinayagong masamang balak tong mga to, bakit hindi na lang buksan ang draft ng CONCOM? Hindi pa nga sila umaamin na may draft eh. Uy, sus Mariusep, okay. Dahil daw sa China issue ito, kaya matutuwa ang China sa gulo natin ngayon. LGU, hawak ni Martin dahil bumabaha ng pera suhol. Oh my God, China issue. Okay. Sabi ni Rayu, does the PI have some pros? None. It's only one provision that they're changing. Pero what they're doing is turning the legislature into a virtual unicameral body. Now, ito yung problema. Maraming nagsasabi noon na, dapat parliamentary, unicameral. But you forget the lessons of history. Bakit tayo nagkaroon ng Senado? Kasi, hindi maasahan noon, ewan ko ngayon na ang Kongreso ay hindi magiging excessive. Nakikita naman natin, di ba? So, the Senate, ito kasi yung itsura ng legislature natin ever since, the Senate remain para may tatabla. Kasi minsan, grabe yung mga nagiging proposed legislation. Either wala sa hulog, wala sa logic, wala sa constitution, or clear yung self-interest. Look, Harry, that's enough. Sorry. Enough. Harry, come here. Harry. That's enough. Oh. Okay. So, nasa na ako? Okay. Bakit may Senado? Kasi yung Senado yung tumatabla dun sa excesses ng House. Meron ding House na tatabla dun sa Senado kung sakaling excessive. Pero para makaandar yung legislation, merong bycam. Ang nangyayari, nagkakakuntsabahan. Pero kahit paano, nakikita natin, with the reaction of the Senate, may panabla. Can you imagine, for example, kung ang House nag-iisa? Ano kayang mga batas ang ipapasa nila para sila na lang rin parati ng sila? Imagine ninyo, kunwari, na unicameral ang ating legislature. At may CONAS pa rin. E di maya't maya, yung Constitution, binabago natin nang naaayon sa kagustuhan nila. Tignan nyo nga, umaariba yung mga pagbabago dun sa ang pagsusulong ng pagbabago sa saligang batas. Nasaan tayo? May nagtanong, may widespread discussions, may kampanya. Sabi nga nila hindi nga ako agree parati kay Justice Carpio, but he was right when he said, ang People's Initiative, malabo yan kung yung babaguhin mo buong Constitution or significant portion. Kasi, walang debate, walang diskurso. So, at nakikita natin yan, walang diskurso, walang information campaign. Dapat nauna yun. Walang nangyayari. So, what they're doing is taking advantage of the ignorance of people in order to put in what they want, in order to, worse, expand their powers. Ano sa tingin niyo pag pinabayaan natin itong mga taong tumuloy-tuloy, iariba nila yung charter change? Dito talaga tayo magkakasubukan sa charter change. Sa kagustuhan ng Kongreso. Ito na nga yung naalala nyo, di ba, tumaragsa talaga yung issue ng pagbabago sa saligang batas. At ang dami yung mga pinopropose during the Duterte period. So what did he do? Pinaaral niya sa isang komisyon. At yung komisyon na yun, balik ang report, sir, mahirap to hindi ganun kadali. Kasi unang-una, bawat posisyon, bawat provision sa saligang batas, whether to remove it or amend it or whatever, ang tindi ng mga debate. Lalong-lalo na pagdating dun sa pagbabago ng forma ng ating gobyerno. Bakit? Kasi nga may lessons of history din sila. So away-away yan. Well, ang problema is the public did not see those debates. They should have. Para lumabas na at tayo nagkaroon ng mas malawak na diskurso. But at least the president was transparent. And he didn't leave it up to himself and he didn't leave it up to Congress. He created a body and that body's job was to tell us what are the provisions that they were looking at. Pagdating sa Kongreso, nobody liked it. Pero nagpilit pa rin they tried pa rin na baguhin ang saligang batas. Walang traction. Wala. Kasi once you sit down and you talk about the repercussions of each provision, kailangan talaga makapag-diskurso muna. Para alam natin, ready rin tayo, prepared tayo sa mga consequences ng gusto natin baguhin. Bukod pa dyan, may mga gustong sumulong ng charter change. Hindi nila ini-explain kung bakit. Kasi ang charter change is a solution. But they're not telling us what the problem is. Ano ba yung problema sa foreign ownership ng advertising? Ganun ba katindi at lumaragsang issue yan sa atin? Talagang concerned ba tayo na Pinoy lang ang may-ari ng ating mga advertising agencies that we have to change the Constitution and stop the work of Congress? Really? Sabi ni Skyrocket, foreign ownership is a no-no. Hindi pa nga natin pinag-uusapan dyan yung foreign ownership of land. Ang dami kasing nagpaikot sa ulo ng ilang tao. 60-40 daw is bad, 60-40 is bad. Hindi naman lahat 60-40. Ang kailangan ng mga tao ay ituro ano ang nasa 60-40, ano ang hindi. Ano yung gusto natin na hindi na 100%. Ano ang gusto natin na 80%? Ano ang gusto natin? This is what Congress should be doing. Dapat nakikipag-usap sila sa taong bayan, nagdidiskusyon, nagdidiskurso, nagkikwentuhan, nakikipagchismisan, pero tayo ang dapat kausap nila, hindi yung sila-sila lang. Hi kay Ma'am Amihan. Nandito si Ma'am Amihan. Hi. Sabi ni Ma'am, People's Initiative or Chacha versus a people power-like movement against malicious political maneuvering. By the way, since people power is acknowledged by the Constitution, mentioning it or even suggesting it is not a bad thing. It's not inciting to sedition. Sabi niya, do you think this is a possible scenario in the near or for the face of the Marcos Jr. administration? Wala akong bolang kristal I don't know. Kasi, you know why? It requires military participation. And in order for the military to participate, they have to be in it to protect the people. That's the constitutional way. The military will not want to do anything illegal unless, in the exigencies of the situation, which I think might be difficult for them to decide. It is the people. They will look to the people to determine whether or not the people need protecting. Kasi yan ang nakalagay sa saligang batas The AFP is the protector of the people and of the state. Nagagalaw lang sila to protect the people. So, if it is clear to them, I suppose they will. But I'm not going to hazard a guess as to whether or not it could happen. A lot of factors still have to come into play. What we're doing now is merely observing the moves of these three major players. Kasi nakikita natin yung mga galaw Dito lang, just by watching the three people. Sabi ni Rosauro, there's only one reason na baguhin ang Constitution, cling to power, at dyan sila namulat nung panahon nila. Sabi ni Sheila, naniniwala ako sa history repeats itself pag ganito. Yes, but what is the complete statement? Diba? History repeats itself, first time as tragedy, the second time as farce. Tama ba yan? Let me double check. Tama. The first time as tragedy, and then the second time as farce. Sabi ni Glenn Salado, Chacha, di nga naman ipinaliwanag ano ka ako babaguhin. Mismo ako gulong-gulong babaguhin. Exactly. And yet, umaariba na sila. Which I think was a mistake on the part of the president. Sinabi niya basta na, oh, sige mag-joint resolution kayo. Propose to change the constitution. Doon na lang sa economic provisions. But nobody, none of them are talking to us. None of them are even bothering to ask us. I think this is a big mistake. Ano, kayo na lang. Sasabihin niyo, it's for our good, for our own good. Ano kami bata at kayo magulang namin? Baliktad yata. We put you in power. We voted for you. Ay, sabi ni Ma'am Raquel, salamat after so many months. Natapatan ko din ang live niyo. Sorry naman po. Sabi ni Sheila, attorney, sabi ni Speaker sa Senate, huwag makialam sa PI at magtrabaho na lang sila. I don't know how to react to that. Sabi ni Ian, dito sa Davao del Norte, they're fooling people to sign through promising additional ayuda once they sign. O ayan, yun yung danger ng People's Initiative. Buti na lang nakita natin ngayon, di ba? Now, ang dapat ginagawa ng ating mga legislators, especially Hello Senate, nakikita nyo naman yung mali. Why aren't you moving to sabi ni Vermin, huyo kayo, PI is parent initiative ng mga magugulang. I got it. Okay. So, the Senate should be proposing changes to RA 6735 to allow for a campaign period para may diskurso, para may debate, para may and the COMELEC should be setting up these debates, should be setting up the campaign. And what are they doing? They're saying yes to Congress. Ano yun? Naging rubber stamp ang COMELEC. So, without, how do you call this? Ito, mababaw pa yung analysis natin dito, ha? Hindi pa natin tinitignan fully ang history at saka yung mga interplay nitong mga major players natin dito. Ito, sabi ni Chiza, magpapatarpulin na ba ako? Etong, na ako nito, my signature is not for sale. Oo nga eh. Sabi ni Andy, why not the military protecting the people from this People's Initiative move of the House when there's a lot na nagsasabi kung paano sila pinapirma, like saying na para sa ayuda. Yun. Because it's like this. The military is expected to protect the people in the manner in which which is in accordance with their mandate. Ano ang mandate ng military? To protect the people with the use of force. And they protect the people when they are in imminent danger. Meaning, nagkakabarilan na. So, or at least there's a danger of that. Ngayon, if they want to interpret it a different way, that will be up to them. Pero the obvious interpretation would be when the people's safety, physical safety is in danger. Diba? Now, bakit ganon yung pagka-phrase? Ito kasi, tama yung question ni Amboy. Pwede bang mag-people power? What if during a people's uprising in the name of people power, papasok ang military, that is actually constitutional. Kasi, if imminent yung danger sa taong bayan, history lesson, diba? General Ver wanted to shoot at the crowds on EDSA. President Marcos stopped him. But there was danger to the people. The tanks were rolling out. Which means, that's why we have that provision in the Constitution. The AFP is the protector of the people and of the state. And in determining the constitutionality of any movement by the military, the Supreme Court will look at that. Yan ay assuming that the government is not abolished. Sabi ni Zanju, puro sila pa ayuda. Kung nilalagay nila yan, parang pampanlad ang agrikultura, Philippines is an agri-country, pero need mag-import. Nga eh. Sabi ni Ses MO5, plot twist, baka mga taga Luzon lang ang pumapalag, tapos go with the flow lang ang Vismin. I disagree. You haven't been going around like I have. That. Right now, we don't even know kung may critical mass, di ba? Plot twist. But, alam nyo, ang pinaka-ayoko talaga naririnig, yung mga statements that tend to divide us as a country. Because that's been our problem ever since. In fact, that was the problem the first President Marcos saw. And exploited. Bakit? Why do you insist on creating divisions? Ay, yung mga Luzon lang ang may gusto niyan. Ay, yung mga Imperial Manila. Chora. Kailan ba naging Imperial Manila? Lahat naman ng tao represented sa Kongreso. Nagkakataon lang na yung Kongreso ay nandito sa Metro Manila. Kung yung sasabihin sa akin that you get less in funding, that's not true. Commissioner pa lang ako sa NCCA 2004 to 2007. Prioritize namin ang Mindanao. Mindanao got the biggest. Visayas was the second. Binawasan talaga namin ang Luzon and Metro Manila. Ito sabi ni Ma'am Jennifer, simpleng kailangan ng mga tao di masolusyonan. Chacha pa. Is Inday bidding her time before she becomes full-blown opposition? We really don't know. She has kept her cards very close to her chest. She's not the type who would telegraph her moves, by the way. Sinong presidente ng 2007? Si Gloria. Dapat magkaisa mga tao tutulan yung PI na yan. Yes, and that's why we're talking. That's why huwag kayong magpapasabi na puro kayo daldal. The reason we are talking is so that other people will be enlightened. Sabi ni Paolo, iba yung corruption sa panahon ni Duterte pero mas iba ang corruption ni BBM. Yeah, whatever. Sabi ni Francisco, are Aimee and Pinsan doing the good cop, bad cop act? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. And this is, I'm saying this because kilala ko si Senadora. Kilala ko si Senator Aimee. Si co-host ko siya noon sa aming dating programa, Karambola. And I do know Senator Congressman Martin, but not as much as I do know Senator Aimee. I know that yung galit niya totoo yan. Sabi ni Rodel, the Marcoses have mastered politics. Have they all? Hindi mo na lang ang spot ni Aimee with speaker playing all sides, users ka nga. I guess that's I can't discount the possibility. Pero from my vantage point, knowing Senator Aimee, it doesn't look like it. Kasi tingnan niyo yung reaction din ni Speaker Martin, ganit din siya. Kanina. Inakusahan siya. Prove it. Kung magkakontsaba sila, he would have something witty to say. Kasi napagandaan. Sabi ni Vladdy, maybe it's Harry, enough. Sabi ni Vladdy, maybe it's time to abolish Congress as a branch but integrate it to the executive branch. Talaga gusto ninyo pahirapan yung pagbago ng saligang batas na has too much power, more than the other branches. I think what we should be doing is limiting the powers of the legislature. Once integrated, bawasan ng number of congressmen. I disagree. I really believe in a separate legislative body. Nagiging self-serving kasi pag yung executive na rin ang gumagawa. Yung matitipid sa government resources and funds na pwedeng ibigay sa mga government agencies that need these resources to help the people more. They all need it. I've been in government for far too long, I think. Probably jaded in my reactions to that. Sabi ni Yoyong, if what you said is correct, then why are all the infrastructure development and business establishments all situated in Metro Manila? Because your representatives didn't fight for you hard enough. Also, you have may problems pa naman talaga. First of all, historically, Manila was the dock. It was the port. Look at Cebu, well-developed din ang Cebu. You can't say na walang infrastructure development doon at walang business establishments sa Cebu. They had the historical ports. They had it started there. And why was that? Because of geography. After that, it was easier for Spain to rule from there. The Americans also thought the same. And now, with a more representative government, dapat nagkakaroon na rin ng development in other areas. But where does it fail? It fails in the self-interest of your representatives. Do you honestly think that a change of system without a change in people or in their orientations would actually change things? Sure, system shapes behavior. Pero find out what the problem is first. Kasi ang sinasabi ninyo is, mag-federalism tayo dahil kulang ang development sa probinsya. So why don't we, as SAS had suggested, create an incubator first? Mag-identify tayo ng region that will have the benefits of a federal state and see how it goes from there. Kasi ang ginagawa natin, gusto ninyo tumaya ng malaki ang gobyerno. As in, change everything and hope for the best. I don't mind incubating it first. Di ba? Sabi ni Ma'am Jennifer, magtulong-tulong tayong ipaliwanag sa taong walang alam kundi ayuda lang ang gusto. Niloloko na sila, etc. Good one. Pero balikan ko yung sa federalism. I'm not arguing against federalism. Mamaya ang gagawin niyo na naman like you did with me the last time. Kaya walang umurong na na usapan ninyo eh. You take something out of context, put it somewhere, and then ensure that the person gets bashed. Join the discourse. Okay? We're not against federalism, but we are against this kind of a change in the Constitution. Gusto niyo baguhin yung saligang batas. Hindi pa nga natin napapagkasunduan kung paano gagawin eh. And ayan nagsisingit na sila. They're doing it through means that are not exactly transparent. Dito pa lang, may diskurso na dapat. Dito pa lang, how are we going to do it? Bakit parating etsepwera ang taong bayan? Ang galing-galing ninyo mag-add, etsepwera. Ito ginagawa ninyo sa amin, etsepwera pa rin. Kami lang ang magsasabi ng kami lang ang magsasabing, how do you call this? Yes or no lang kami. That's it. We're limited to yes or no. Bakit hindi kami kasama sa discussion? Bakit hindi kasama ang taong bayan sa mapagpipili kung ano ang babaguhin? Why? Di ba? Sabi ni Pab, ano po nababasa o feel nyo na nag-start na pumalag si Pulong at si Alvarez sa Congress kontra kay Speaker? Sa feel nyo meron na po susunod yan? What do you mean? Well, hindi. Nung umpisa, hindi ko pa insensitive siguro ako, hindi ko pa masyadong naamoy yun. Wala talaga. And remember, I was with the administration at the time. Even if I did notice anything, I would never have said anything. Because when you're with the admin, you have to be with the admin. Sabi ni Ma'am Sheila, ang hirap kasi dito, hindi natin alam kung ano isisingit, may right tayo, tau-tauan na lang ba tayo? Correct. We have to demand. Why are you changing these? Di ba? Yan ba yung panawagan namin? Ano yung panawagan natin, di ba? Pagkain, kuryente, tubig, internet, transportation. 5 priorities. Nasaan yan dun sa pagbago ng saligang batas? Sinasagot ba nila yun? O may issue pa ba sa saligang batas tungkol dun sa mga yun? Kasi I don't mind kung magbibigay sa atin ng murang kuryente, babaguhin ka, in a heartbeat. I do that. Yung mga galit sa akin because nagrereklamo ako sa taas ng kuryente at saka dun sa inflation. Sinasabi ninyo kasi yung inflation abroad, yun yung nagko-cause ng ng taas ng presyo dito. Ngayon, yun pala yung cause bakit binabago yung saligang batas? Sabi ni Roel, how about if FPRD runs as congressman and becomes House Speaker at magkaroon ng tsa-tsa? Why do you say magkaroon ng tsa-tsa? You mean people are powerless? Gigising na lang tayo, ay may tsa-tsa. Di ba yung natural phenomenon? Somebody pushes for that. But see if you can ask FPRD, if he becomes Speaker, to push for that. I doubt it. Napagod siya nun eh. I know because we talked about it. But I think that he will, pero hindi yung malaki. He'll fix things. Oh, but that's just a guess, ha? Sabi ni Jerry, I'll give my signature for the removal of the speaker. Hashtag di mo pera yan. Patata Totini says, in a recent interview with Monson, he just admitted 2 weaknesses in the 87 Constitution, but did not show indignation to what is actually happening now because of those weaknesses. Yun yung ano niya eh. Parang ang tingin niya, ganito, like I keep saying, what is the problem that you think will be solved by changing the Constitution? And what provision needs to be changed? Ganon po baliktad, hindi yung baguhin natin to and then hope that this is what will happen. Identify the problem and then let's work out the solution. If the solution is to amend the Constitution or to change the entire thing, throw it away, let's start over, I would be glad to do that. But point out what the problem is and why do you think the problem emanates or begins or has its roots in the Constitution. Doon po yung isipan natin, hindi po yung dapat ganito eh. Bakit? Kasi sa ganito. How do you know it will happen here? Iba yung kultura natin dun sa ibang mga bansa na naggawa ng ganon. I don't mind experimenting. Create tayo ng incubation place or area, special economic zone, mga ganon. Grabe si CRTV, sabi niya na-achieve ng 20 pesos na sinasabi ni PBBM, 20 pesos per cup of rice sa turo-turo. Uy, 20 na ba? Uy, hindi nga. Hindi, kasi parang paano kala niyo hindi ako kumakain sa turo-turo? 10 piso lang yan dati. Sabi ni Chinitas, continuous pwesto ng gusto sa Chacha. Sabi ni Flor, supported daw ng NEDA ang revision ng economic provision ng saligang batas. Hindi kaya po meron din talagang go signal ang Pangulo sa PI? Ma'am, tingin ko meron na. Because kung wala, tahasang pambabastos ng speaker na yan kay PBBM. I get it. You're right. I can't see a flaw in the logic. May kinalaman ba daw ang Liberal Party para sirain ang Uniteam? First of all, as soon as they came into office, it shouldn't be a Uniteam anymore. Nagsimula kasi yan kay Kimbo noong siya ang nag-defend sa budget ng VP, tapos tinulugsa din niya nila nilagman sa loyalty. And I don't really think that the Liberal Party is of any significance nowadays. I think we have new villains. Sabi ni Ma'am Sheila, meron si BBM na signal, sabi ni Senator Amy, kaso na-delete na interview niya. Oo nga, I saw that. May unit team pa ba talaga? Teka, ulitin ko na lang ha, para dun sa mga mahilig tumambay dito sa mga live namin, alam nila to. Ma'am, wala na pong unit team. Sabagay, kahit noon pa wala ng unit team dapat. Kasi ang unit team, yun yung campaign eh. It was for them to win. Unit team versus all the other teams. Pero once they took their oaths as president and vice president and all of their kasama, they're kawani na sila ng gobyerno. Para sa tao na sila, para sa bayan. Hindi para sa hindi para sa team. So, ang ang nagbago is the relationship between the president and the vice president as well as the speaker and the vice president. Although hindi naman sila close. And although sinasabi ni Speaker Martin that he was her campaign manager, alam naman po natin na ang talagang nagpatakbo ng kampanya ni VP Inday is, well, nag-join forces sila. She had her own people running it on her side. Not necessarily lakas. I'm not saying completely wala ang lakas. Andun naman. Kasi andun nga si Gloria, si Mrs. Arroyo. Okay, last yun. Sabi ni CR, assuming parliamentary na tayo, I can't make that assumption. Pwede bang sipain ng Prime Minister ang President? It depends on what, okay, why do we keep thinking na pag nag-parliamentary tayo, we will adopt wholesale yung ginagawa ng ibang bansa? Alam niyo ba, kahit sabihin ng Kongreso, so a constitutional assembly, ang constituent assembly, parliamentary tayo, sa tingin niyo buong-buo nila i-adopt yan? Those provisions that don't work for them, they're going to change those. They're going to make things different. You cannot rely on Congress to say, sige, parliamentary tayo, pero it will be British parliamentary or something parliamentary. Hindi, kasi hindi nga tayo ganun. Hindi rin yung ganun yung kultura. And they will put in provisions that will make it easier for them. So I don't know what a Philippine parliament is going to look like. It will still depend on how they're going to execute that. If you really want a system na parliamentary, ang proposal nyo dapat kumpleto. Hindi yung dapat ganito, dapat federal. How is our federal system going to work? We have to have these kinds of rules. We have to create the rules so that naaayon sila dito sa Pilipinas. Yung buong-buong yung reason kung bakit hirap tayo ngayon, kasi buong-buo nga natin ina-adapt yun sa iba eh. In-adapt nga natin yung justice system ng US eh. And ang dami natin kinailangan baguhin. Hindi siya talaga bagay nung una. So, how do we change the Constitution? This is how we do it. First, you determine the problem. Second, see how if that problem exists because of a specific provision in the Constitution, then we will change that provision. Then we can do the studies. Ganito ba? Unang-una, would it even fly? Di ba? Magugustuhan pa ng taong bayan yun. Number one. Number two, feasibility is also always an issue. Kung gusto natin mag-royalty, di sige, pwede naman ang royalty, but can you do it? Is it feasible? Una, tatanggapin po ng mga tao. Pangalawa, how much is it going to take to change that? Kasi you can put up a really nice plan, but if you don't have the wherewithal to do it, or you don't know how you're going to do it in increments, or you don't trust people to do the slow change, what is the point in all of this discussion? Sabi ni Mount Cabin, gusto nyo ba ang judiciary gagawa rin ng batas, pati secretary gagawa rin, etc., etc. Sabi ni RB, may mapapala po ba ang mga mamamayan sa mga hearing ni Senator Tulfo para malaman ng katotohanan? Alam nyo, for a hearing to be effective, it has to be fair. Do you sense that any of those hearings are fair? Kasi ang naririnig lang yung punto niya eh. Kung hindi maririnig yung punto ng mga resource persons mo, what is the point in having a hearing at all? So yeah, nakikita niyo na what it takes, di ba, to change things. I'm not saying change is impossible. It should be possible all the time. But we also have to be realistic. How are we going to plan for those changes? Take those into consideration. One, what is the problem? Is this a solution to that? Number two, is it feasible? Can we do it? And number three, maybe we should try it out in some place first. See how it works. That way you can minimize the expenses as well as minimize the mistakes. Alright, so I'm already straining my already strained voice. So, last few comments na lang po. Sabi ni our vote, that's why it's important to have the leaders that we deserve. Parating sinasabi yan ni Attorney Trix, we deserve better. As expressed earlier, let's try to move away from this becoming cult-based reforms. We appreciate their support to Dutertes, but let's not diminish this as if personality or cult-based lang, di ba? And change is not only about bringing back or supporting the Dutertes or the Marcoses. It's about having more leaders like the Dutertes. It's like having real, genuine reform because all of us are doing our part. Sabi ni Marilu, Attorney, bakit ayaw mong tumakbo bilang senador para maturuan yung ibang senador na parang walang mga alam, nakakadismaya na talaga? Kung kailangan yung mga away ng ibang senador, hindi pwedeng senador din. Kasi collegial body yan. Kailangan nila yung isa't isa. That's why they don't fight with each other. Or at least hindi permanente yung away. Sabi ni Ma'am Gladys, it's a waste of money and time during investigation. Tapos si Tulfo pa, palakasan lang ng boses pero wala namang results. Sabi ni I want one bill. Ano nagkaroon ng hearing ang Senado, Attorney? Di naman sila court. It's called an inquiry actually. And it's not a hearing, but nagdidinig sila eh. So, it's actually the form that consultation takes in the Senate and in the House. Kailangan nila ng maraming punto de vista, so they call a hearing. Unfortunately, hindi po lahat ng hearing na yan ay gumagawa kasi sila ng batas or gusto nilang mag-repeal ng batas. Yung mga hearing na yan ay minsan marites talaga. Ay, gusto kong malaman kung bakit nagkabarilan dun sa kanto. Hearing tayo. Tapos makaka-first hand marites sila. Sabi ni RG, napakalamyan itong administrasyon na ito. Next week, oil price hike na naman, malaki pa. Ano ba to? Sabi ni Jan, sayang lang ang budget, kakahiring, wala naman nananagot. Well, iba kasi ito ganito Dahil hindi totoo, hindi court, ang Senado, ang Kongreso, kahit ipamukha nilang napaka-evil o napakasama ng tao, pagdating sa hukuman, nagiging fair yung trial. So, hindi necessarily yung bad guys na uma-appeal dun sa yung akala mo bad guys sila pagdating dun sa Kongreso at sa Senado, pagdating sa hukuman where the fight is fair, hindi na po sila ganun. Sabi ni Rai, I believe the West and superpowers purposely corrupts every country to exploit its natural resources. I don't discount their role in our country. But to not talk about, to waive or dismiss our problems as simply that of the interference of another country would be to be giving too much credit to them. Okay? So, I'm not sure po kung pupunta akong Davao this Sunday. I have work. Not on a Sunday. Sabi ni Junis, ang problema talaga ay ang national finance. Too much money is getting into the national budget, or in a big part only goes to corruption. We should go to a parliamentary system. Ayan na naman. But in a different way. Congress may still exist or not anymore, but Senate should be composed of representatives from different regions. This one I agree with. Maybe 2 or 3 from each region. This one I agree with. All regions will become an estate. Each estate will have their own government and finance system. National will only get part of the estates. I don't mind, but let's see how it works. Kasi if you're going to change everything first, then hope for the better, labo nun. Okay, so maraming salamat po sa lahat ng sumubaybay. Thank you very much. Wow, dami sa TikTok Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Is it parang dateless Friday tayong lahat? Anong nangyayari? Bakit hindi kayo gumigimik at nandito kayo sa live? Ang dami nyo. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng sumubaybay sa aming live ngayong araw na ito, sa lahat ng nagpadala ng star stickers, super chat, coffee, roses, diamonds, etc. dito sa TikTok. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Pero bukod pa dun sa mga pinapadala ninyo, maraming salamat sa diskurso. Maraming salamat po na sa yung nakikipagkwentuhan kayo sa akin. At saka nakikipagkwentuhan tayo sa isa't isa. Isa lang po ang nire-require ko aside from share, like, follow, subscribe, ganun. Workload pa din daw si Ma'am Amihan. So, pero aside from everything else dito, ang request ko lang is, kahit yung mga pamilya lang natin ang makausap natin at kasi pinapatulog na ako ni Ma'am Jennifer. Kahit yung mga pamilya lang natin at mga kaibigan ang makausap natin tungkol dito sa mga pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, malaking bagay na po yun. Kasi we will always, ilan tayo, di ba? We can always multiply our numbers. Mag-multiply natin ang numbers natin kung we can create other versions of ourselves, di ba? Yung mayroong iba na maikikwento nila yung mga narinig nila dito or narinig ninyo. Di ba? Baka pwede natin pag-usapan in our parties, in our get-together, in any other occasions, may makatabi ka sa bus. Uy, anong chika ninyo sa People's Initiative? Dinig nyo ba? You never know. Di ba? Sayang, attorney, nagkakape pa ako, patapos na pala. Ay, sayang si John Fitz. Sorry naman po, late ka Bakit ka nagpupuyat? Pakialamera, grabe. So, yun, so maraming salamat, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat at para dun sa iba na pagising pa lang o pag-umpisa pa lang yung araw, maraming salamat. I hope everybody has a good day. Chikahan ulit tayo bukas kasi dateless pa rin ako bukas at hindi rin naman ako sure pupunta ako sa Davao. So, kasi I have a trip naman talaga sa Davao pero hindi po for this weekend. So, Diyos ko, sabi ni Pab, gaganda ko kaya ang Manila ang hangin kapag na-face out ang mga traditional jeeps. Hindi nga natin alam kasi na-delay na naman. Makakaloka. Ingat-ingat po ang lahat ha. Ingat-ingat po. Kailangan po. Alagaan niyo sarili ninyo. Ano, take care of yourselves, ha? Please stay safe, please stay well. Kailangan ko yun ng bayan. Maraming salamat. We'll see you.